Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we try to figure out if a company is truly earning its keep or if it is just a fancy facade. Today we're diving into an amendment to Ingles Markets Incorporated annual report where something a bit unusual happened. So what is the big deal with this filing? Well, it looks like Ingles Markets Incorporated decided to belatedly add the important stuff. You know, the parts about who is running the show, what they're getting paid, and who owns how much of the company. They originally filed their main report and then realized, oh shoot, we forgot the juicy details. This amendment is basically them playing catch up. They could have waited to include this in their next proxy statement, but instead they decided to just put it all in this 10K amendment. It is like realizing you forgot to pack your toothbrush for a trip and deciding to mail it to yourself instead of waiting until you get back home to buy a new one. It is a bit of a roundabout way to get the information out. But hey, at least we're getting it. Let's start by looking at the people in charge. We've got Robert P. Ingles II, who has been chairman of the board since 2004 and has a long history with the company. Then there is James W. Lanning, who has been CEO since 2016 and has been with Ingles since way back in 1975. Patricia E. Jackson is the Chief Financial Officer and a certified public accountant. The rest of the board members bring a mix of experience from banking industry backgrounds and community involvement. It is a pretty seasoned group. Robert P. Ingles II is 57 years old. James W. Lanning is 66 years old. Patricia E. Jackson is 61 years old. Ernest E. Ferguson is 78 years old. Laura Ingle Sharp is 69 years old. Brenda S. Tudor is 68 years old. L. Keith Collins is 68 years old. Michael David Hogan is 43 years old. Fred D. Ayers is 83 years old. Now here is something interesting. Ingles Markets is considered a controlled company. This is because Robert P. Ingles II, through a majority of the Class B common stock, holds the voting power for electing directors. This means they don't have to follow all the usual stock exchange rules about independent directors. It is a common setup for family-controlled businesses. They also updated their bylaws to put in more formal procedures for shareholders who want to nominate directors or propose business at meetings. This basically means shareholders have to give the company a heads up well in advance and provide a lot of information. It is about making sure everything is above board and organized, but also perhaps making it a bit tougher for activist shareholders to bring things to a vote. Okay, let's get to the part many of you are probably waiting for: the executive compensation. Ingles Markets aims to attract and keep top talent by offering competitive pay packages, but they also want their executives to feel the ups and downs of the business. They don't have employment change of control or severance agreements, with their top brass believing in trust and commitment instead. Looking at the summary compensation table for 2025, we see some substantial numbers. James W. Lanning, the CEO and president, took home a total compensation of $3,130,472. Robert P. Ingles II, the chairman of the board, earned $7,414,155. Patricia E. Jackson, the CFO, had a total compensation of $802,065. Michael D. Hogan, the president of Milco Inc., received $475,301. These are not small figures by any stretch. For James W. Lanning, his salary was $1,120,000. He also received a bonus of $1,945,000. For Robert P. Ingles II, his salary was $1,195,000. His bonus was a whopping $6,085,000. Patricia E. Jackson's salary was $475,577 and her bonus was $300,000. Michael D. Hogan's salary was $340,962 with a bonus of $65,000. Other compensation includes things like employer matches for the 401k and non-qualified plans and life insurance premiums. For James W. Lanning, this amounted to $65,472. For Robert P. Ingles II, it was $134,155. For Patricia E. Jackson, it was $26,488. And for Michael D. Hogan, it was $19,389. Now let's talk pay ratios for 2025. The CEO James W. Lanning's total compensation was $3,130,472. The median employee's annual compensation was significantly less at $23,748. This puts the CEO pay ratio at a striking 132 to 1. This means the CEO earns 132 times more than the median employee. While CEO pay is often higher, this ratio highlights a significant pay gap. Outside directors receive an annual retainer of $15,000 plus $1,250 for each board or committee meeting attended. Audit and compensation committee members get additional retainers too. Fred D. Ayers received $42,500. Ernest E. Ferguson got $37,508. Brenda S. Tudor also received $37,508. Moving on to who actually owns the company, Robert P. Ingles II is a major shareholder holding a significant amount of Class A and Class B stock. His total beneficial ownership gives him substantial voting power. Other directors and officers also hold shares, but to a lesser extent. Robert P. Ingles II beneficially owns 4,275,873 shares of Class A stock, and his Class B holdings translate to substantial voting power. James W. Lanning has 82,623 shares of Class A stock. Patricia E. Jackson has 72,623 shares of Class A stock. When we look at larger shareholders, we see some big investment firms. BlackRock Inc. owns a substantial chunk of Class A shares. So does the Vanguard Group Dimensional Fund Advisors LP. These are major players in the investment world holding significant stakes in Ingles markets. BlackRock Inc. has 1,218,101 shares of Class A stock. The Vanguard Group has 1,217,521 shares of Class A stock. Dimensional Fund Advisors LP has 993,777 shares of Class A stock. Ingles Markets has a policy to monitor related party transactions. They require directors and officers to notify them of any potential related party dealings. The Audit Committee reviews these transactions. They've noted a lease agreement with a limited liability company where Robert P. Ingles II is a principal. The annual lease payment is around $160,000. They believe these transactions are on terms no less favorable than market rates, and they do not plan to enter into any less favorable future transactions. Regarding director independence, the board has determined that Fred D. Ayers, Ernest E. Ferguson, and Brenda S. Tudor are independent directors. L. Keith Collins is also considered independent. They're making sure they meet the NASDAQ requirements for independent members on their board and committees. For accounting services, Deloitte and Touch LLP audited Ingles Markets. For the year ended the 27th of September 2025, the audit fees were $1,400,000. This is up from $1,245,000 in the previous year. They also had some other fees, totaling $5,700 for 2025. The audit committee approved all these services to ensure Dellett's independence. The audit fees for 2025 came in at $1,400,000. The total fees paid to Deloitte for 2025 bumped up to $1,405,700. Finally, this amendment includes updated certifications from the CEO and CFO as required by the Sarbanes-Oxley Act. These are crucial for demonstrating internal controls and financial reporting integrity. So what is the bottom line here? Ingles Markets is a company with a strong family influence given the control by the Ingles family and significant holdings by Robert P. Ingles II. Their executive compensation is high, especially for the chairman of the board, who also collects a significant salary and bonus. The pay ratio between the CEO and the median employee is quite wide, signaling a considerable disparity in compensation. On the flip side, they have a solid board with a mix of experienced individuals, and they seem to be diligent about their corporate governance procedures, though being a controlled company gives them some flexibility. The major shareholders are large institutional investors, indicating they are a significant player in the market. Looking at the financials, the increase in audit fees might suggest more complex accounting or a greater scope of work. The company is clearly prioritizing its leadership and ensuring they are well compensated while also managing their relationships and adhering to regulatory requirements. The story here is one of a well-established company with entrenched leadership navigating the complexities of public reporting with a bit of a delay. What is your take on these numbers and what they signal for the company's future? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out the Discord community linked in the description. It is a great place to keep the conversation going. Thanks for watching. See you next time.